Hi there. In this video, I want to cover how to create a new product on our website and get an SKU for it. This is being done in the context of section C of our weekly receiving process and this section right here under where we add new data from the receive form to the order form. And so it's just today in this video, we're just going to cover these two lines. So create a new product for the website for each new item. So that's talking about in the order form on these are all received items that we're processing, trying to get this data to the website. And we need to, any one of these that doesn't have an SKU, we need to get an SKU for, and you have to, that starts with the website, that starts with the database. And so we're going to create a new item for each of those and then enter that SKU for the new item into the SKU column. So we're going to get an SKU for them and get this filled out because we have to have an SKU to be able to do a data transfer to the website. And so that's what I'm going to go over in this video. And so I'm just going to do a couple of examples. We won't do all of these in this video. You should only need to see a couple of these. And so let me show you how we'll do that. So we'll just start with this very top one right here. Very often when these don't have an SKU, there is actually already a parent product. So these are each a variation of a parent product. There's a few ways I can tell that, but I can see that like each one of these has this same prefix, fuse 600 volt FLSR. That's the parent product right there. And then each one of these is the variation. So FLSR 125, FLSR 35, FLSR 40. Those are each variations. Let's go and find this product on the website. Okay. Anything you do with our website, I recommend making sure you are signed in. Even though it looked like I was signed in there, I was not. And so I would just always just do a reload just to check. So we'll go to products and I'll just paste that in and I find the product right there. I can look at the variations by clicking this button right here. Here they all are. So I've got the FLSR 35, 17.5, 60, 80, and 100. But if you notice, oops, I do not see FLSR 125 in there. That's because it's not there. That's why it doesn't have an SKU. We need to create it. So the first step I'm going to do is go in here and click this add new variation button there. And the variation that this is going to be is FLSR 125. So I can copy that. Obviously, I could have just typed that in. That's pretty simple, but if it's ever longer, you can always copy and paste it. Now I need to make an SKU for it. And I want to model its SKU after the other SKUs in here. And so it looks like they're all going to have this same parent product SKU. So you can get that. Here's the parent product's SKU. And then each child product has that same prefix SKU and then their own individual code right here. So we need to model it after these others. So we'll start with the parents SKU. And then it looks like it's just going to be dash and it's going to be just this right here. FLSR 125. That's what all these have done. So I want to make that like these others. Always enter a price of just $1. I just don't like leaving that blank. It's kind of weird with stuff, the way stuff appears on the website. So I'm going to click Save Variants. That is all you have to do. Now we have a new variation created and it has an SKU. We need to put that SKU into the order form. Very important that you do that step. This has to be over here. Since we're on this same product, we'll just do another one. If we look through here, so we have this FLSR 40, and I bet you anything, we don't find that here. There's no FLSR 40, so let's add another variation. Control V. It's going to be very similar to this SKU, just with a 40, and we'll give it a price of $1. Save variation. So that is actually all that you need to do when it comes to adding variations for an already existing parent product. Oh, and of course, cannot forget this final step. Okay, so now we have SKUs for those, and those exist on the website. And when we go to upload this data, it'll match it to that SKU, and it'll fill in this data for us. That's why we don't have to. We could just go in and manually enter all this data. Uh, you see, here's all these fields. These come from the order form, and we could fill them out right here, and that would work. But good Lord, that would take all day long and longer. And so we have an easy way to do that. We can just upload a spreadsheet of data and it'll fill all this out for us. It's so much quicker. If you're ever just doing one or two products, you could just enter the data manual and be done with it. But I don't recommend doing that for more than just like one at a time. Even if it's two, it's often easier to do a spreadsheet upload. Um, Anyways, so let's look at another example. Whoops. Let's look at another example here. So both of these already had an existing parent product. Some of these, though, if you find that they don't, and I'm going to handpick an example that I know this does not exist. Oops. Neither of these exist on the website at all. You can see they still have the same, they're supposed to be a parent product, and then there's a couple of variations. There's this XL and then XL insulated. But let's just go and search the website for this real quick. I'm going to close up this variation. I'm going to change our search criteria to be that leather gloves, and look, our search comes up empty. That does not exist, so we need to create it. We can do that by this add new product button. I'm going to click that. I'll go ahead and put that name in. And now we need to come up with an SKU for this. And I recommend talking to your supervisor about this unless you're 100% sure you're doing the SKU right, because our SKUs have meanings. We separate things between parts, supplies, downhole pump parts, tools. So for instance, all parts start with P. All supplies start with S. All tools start with T. So gloves fit under the category of supplies. I know this is going to start with S, right? And then, but within each supply category, so I'm going to go to our supplies, everything under here will start with an S, right? We can't see the SKUs. But gloves fit into this PPE category. So if I do click on that, I do get to see this SKU of S-PPE, and this is actually the SKU for this grouped product, which groups all these individual parent products together. But here's some more gloves on here. So I can kind of model it after these, and it just so happens, this is kind of just out of luck. Here's these gloves right here. That's this standard gloves pack of 12. I can see that's right here. I can kind of model this parent SKU that I'm trying to create after that one. So I know since it fits in the PPE category, personal protection equipment, it's going to be S-PPE. So that's going to be that second code of letters there, PPE. So it's a supply. It fits into the personal protection equipment category. Now we need to come up with its own individual code. So you can see this one right here came up with, it looks like that must be standard gloves pack 12. So it kind of modeled it after this name, standard gloves pack 12. And so we need to come up with something. We need to make up a unique one for this. So let's just call this gloves leather heavy duty. Okay, so that's our at least draft SKU. I'll tell you why I'm calling it a draft in a minute, but that's going to be our draft SKU, and we need to put it into a category, and I'm going to put it into the same category. So these other gloves are in hidden C. I'm just going to drop it into that same category right there. Once that's done, we can save changes, and that has been created. So why am I calling this a draft SKU? Real quick, I want to search that and make sure exactly one thing pops up. If I create an SKU and then see that there's another, we cannot have duplicates. We need every SKU to be unique. So always, if you're creating a new SKU, whether it's for a parent product or for one of a variation, make sure it's unique. And that's, for the parent products at least, it's very simple just to search it right up here. And I see that I do indeed have a unique product. So now we can actually start working with this. First thing we need to do, we don't have an image for this, and we need to get that filled out, or we need to get an image. You can talk to your supervisor about getting images. If you're not sure how something looks, you might just ask your supervisor, hey, can you get me these images? You could, if it's simple enough, if you think you can find the product out in the shop, you may just go out there and look. Um, and, or you can search the web for it, gloves, leather, heavy duty, and see what comes up. I happen to know what this product looked like. So the easiest way to get an image, I recommend the last way to get an image being actually going and taking a picture, photoshopping it, or using AI to get a white background. We can do that, but that's the hardest way. The easiest way is to find an already existing image on the internet. I know that these leather gloves happen to look like this. They might have looked like this or like this, but I know that they look a lot like this. So I'm just going to go and thief this image real quick. Um, and you can do that by doing a screenshot of this right here. Um, and hold on a second. I'm going to pause the video and work on something. Okay, I'm back. So I realized that I'm using my snipping tool to make this video, and I can't screenshot this right now. So I had to use my phone and do a screenshot and then email it to me. It was a whole ordeal. But if you're not recording a video while trying to take a screenshot, then you can actually just screenshot this and have that. A lot of times, let's see if we can click. Some websites will let you like click and blow it up. Anyways, just get a good screenshot. I will say, always, 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 always need a perfectly white background. Whatever image you choose, make sure it has a perfect white background, and that can be kind of be deceiving sometimes. Let me see if I can. I don't see a great example. Oh, this one right here, you can see that is actually not perfect white. That's got a little bit of, well, it did another one. It does look perfectly white here, but sometimes they'll have just like a little bit of a tint to them. You have to avoid that. You got to get one with a perfectly white background. Um, anyways, so I got a screenshot from my phone and came up with this right here. So we're going to use this as our base image, but you might notice that it's not exactly what we need to work with. So we're going to get it to that. And I might have a little bit of trouble with the way it is. Man, this is so hard not being able to just screenshot something. I have this file right here, and you may need to create one of these of your own. So we have to get the image the right size and shape. Um, yeah, I think we'll be able to do it with this. So if you use a PowerPoint document like I have, you can set it up. Let me see. It's under view, design maybe. Yeah, slide size. You can set this custom size. If you set it 9 inches by 9 inches, that gives you this slide that happens to be perfect for the perfect size image to use on our website. So just create a PowerPoint and use, you can go to design and then custom slide and just set the width and height to 9 inches and click OK. And that'll give you this right size slide. So let's go ahead and insert that image. Oops. This device. It's on the desktop. Okay. So we have that. But we need to get it, I'm going to zoom out just a hair. We need to get the gloves kind of the right size in here. So that looks pretty good. This is so much easier if you screenshot from your computer, I'm telling you. Then you don't have all this stuff like that came from my phone. We're gonna have to get that out. And actually it might end up okay. That's a little big. Be careful with how you size items. You don't want to go too big. You don't want the item, it just for some reason looks bad. If I did like that and just filled up the slide with the gloves, it just looks bad. So you want them to be like a little smaller. That's probably okay. I'm gonna go just a hair smaller than that. Yeah, about like that right there. You want them pretty well centered. That should come out. So that should cut out when I go and export this, it should just give me what's inside the slide that I made here. That looks pretty good right there. So let's go. file, and I'm going to do a save as on this, and then more options. And I'm going to select the place that I want to save it, and then put it in the need upload. Make sure you change the file type to a PNG, and then I'm going to give it a name, say gloves leather. Save that, and I'm just going to say just this one. Let's go take a look at that real quick. Yeah, and you can see that that turned out pretty good. They might be sitting a little high in the frame, but and I guess I could change that real quick. Um, not too hard. Yeah, let's come down just a hair. File, save as. Wish it would take me back to that same destination. That'd be nice. Okay, and that should have that fixed. Probably getting tired of me seeing me go to this same file location over and over. Yeah, that looks way better. I think it looks good to situate items just like close, a little closer to the bottom than the top a lot of time. Just do what you think looks good. Don't get it too big, don't get it too small within the frame. You can always kind of model it after a lot of our other pictures. We just go to parts and I don't know, maybe supplies was better. Yeah, you know, for instance, like that 5 gallon bucket, you can kind of see similarly situated in the frame of the image. That's not a great example, but oh yeah, this shows hand cleaner. You know, you can see it's not like so huge; it takes up the whole frame. Um, just be careful. Make them look good. If you're ever in doubt, just ask your supervisor. Anyway, so let's go about now getting that uploaded. So let's choose that file, and you're gonna have to watch me navigate back to this same file path one more time. Oops, wrong button. Select that and upload. Okay, and so now we have an image for that. There is going to be one more thing we need to fill out for this. We need to get this price in. Let's go see if we have that. We may not have that yet. We don't. See, that comes in here. We'll go through that later. So I won't enter anything in there for now. But with that done, we have this parent product, right? But now we need to get these variations added to it. So that's the next thing I'm going to work on. So I'm going to close that up and open the variations. And you can see no variants yet. So let's add one. I just happen to remember the first one is XL. So for the SKU, it's always going to be the parent SKU dash, and then you have to make something up. And so I'm just going to go with XL. And enter a price of $1. Save that. Let's copy and paste this. We have that one. Now we need this one, so XL insulated. Let's add a new variant. I'll just copy and paste this over, make sure I get that right. Okay. And then it's going to look a lot like this. I'm going to use that as a base, but I'm going to go INSUL, extra large insulated. Never make these too long. That's about as long as you want. Maybe one or two more characters if you're desperate to get it unique. You can use a combination of letters and numbers. The letters should always be capitalized. Right, so I'm just going to enter $1 for that, and let's copy and paste this SKU. Right there. Okay. So that should cover all examples. That's kind of the only two types of examples. Ones that already had a parent product and ones where you have to create a parent product. Once you create the parent product, it's the same process. Just getting that image up there and whatnot. It's kind of the tricky and more time consuming part. But anyways, that really covers then these two steps. I won't do the rest. Obviously, there's more work to do here, getting the rest of these filled in, but I'm not going to bore you with that in this video. If you have any questions about this or feel like I didn't cover anything, please let me know, and I will do my best to help you out. Thanks a lot.